please be a good episode? I've got a feeling this one's gonna be good. So we find out they're having a test at the hula school to come up with an original hula dance, to which Lilo wants to prove that she can come up with the best one out there to beat Myrtle. As Lilo's practicing, Stitch tries to help her out and join in, but Lilo berates him for making her lose focus, and he ends up breaking her skirt in the process. Over at the school the next day, Stitch wants to help out by playing drums for her, but Lilo tells him to wait outside instead, and in doing so, Stitch ends up seeing a circus clown who is actually an experiment, and then goes to tell Lilo about it.
Cousin. An experiment? But I'm about to do dress rehearsal. Can't you take care of it yourself?
Lilo, your turn.
Ohana?
What's the holdup, Weirdlo? Is your hula not gross enough yet? Ohana means family. And family means leave me alone while I'm trying to practice hula.
Okay, that's it. We're done here. That's the greatest line this show will ever produce. It's done. Pack up your bags, print out the t-shirts. Over at Gantu, he reads the paper and sees the circus in town and that the experiment is a part of it. Then being informed by Ruben that the experiment has already been active for weeks already, hence how it's already in an established circus and not just suddenly running amok like all the other experiments have been. Back with Stitch, he investigates the circus and disguises himself to try and catch Elastico, failing miserably before eventually outsmarting him.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us hear it for our surprise circus guest, the marvelous, the magnificent,
Stitch?
Oh, no, this will never do. You need a name which more accurately reflects your indestructible resplendency. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the incredible Indestructible!
Wow!
However, before Stitch can enjoy the moment, Gantu shows up and takes Elastico away. The circus leader talks to Stitch about how he could possibly replace Elastico and have a new family of his own, since his current family seems to be doing a good job of ignoring him. Now there's a scene here where Gantu tries to put Elastico in the teleporter pod to send him to Hamsterville, but I noticed that there's cracks all over the walls, and I wouldn't comment on this, except for the fact that there's also a massive crack on the TV screen he uses to talk with Hamsterville. And it's been driving me crazy about where that crack came from. But I don't know. Anyway, Elastico ends up escaping. With Stitch now part of the circus, he ends up drawing quite a crowd, and I'm actually surprised they don't recognize him from the look at this TV show, and they all love him, the leader giving him special passes as a reward to give to his family and friends. However, back at the house, Lilo's too busy working on her costume to care, and tells Stitch to leave her alone. If you think this scene looks very familiar, then don't worry, I'm gonna talk all about it at the end. He's told by the crew that if he does end up joining, he will never be alone again, since the circus performers are all like family to each other, right before being presented with the contract to join, which because of his rejection by Lilo, he signs and leaves her forever. With Lilo finally ready for her hula, she finally pays attention to her surroundings and realizes that Stitch is gone, and finds the special passes he left. Before we cut over to the circus and see that Elastico has come back, and Stitch now gets to perform with his cousin. Over at the hula school, as it's Lilo's turn to go, she ends up being too distracted by Stitch's absence and leaves to go and search for him. Seem familiar yet?
Stitch, is that you?
Lilo?
I know you're mad at me, because I was too busy with my show to pay attention to you. You aren't really going to Vegas, are you? You'll never see your Ohana again.
Circus means family, and family means Stitch does not get left behind.
I never meant to leave you behind.
Before they can mend up, however, Gantu shows up and they have a little fight before Stitch ends up using his indestructibility to presumably break every single bone in the center of Gantu's body.
Isa, Prokoba.
It's okay. I can always make another one.
Yeah?
I should never have ignored you because of my dumb old hula dance. Being there for you and helping you find your cousins is so much more important.
Moral learned. Although, taking a break for yourself every once in a while isn't a bad thing as well. As long as you aren't mean and ignore the people around you like you were doing, which is bad. Stitch no longer wants to join the circus now that he has Lilo back, and turns out the contract he's signed is null, because instead of signing the circus name whatever it is, he instead signs Stitch, so he leaves. And the episode ends with Stitch putting on a show for his cousins to let Lilo do her Wait, who the hell are those three? Well, that's a rhetorical question. I know exactly who those three are, but they're not supposed to be there yet. We haven't seen them yet. Oh no. How could you have messed up continuity this bad? Either you aired the episode in the wrong order. These guys' episodes are only a few episodes later. You almost had it. But shame. Continuity shame. The worst kind. This episode is very good. It's funny, has an interesting story, the experiment is hilarious, and is kind of like a real-life Looney Tunes character. And the idea of Stitch joining the circus makes way more sense than it has any right to. But my favorite thing about this episode, and what I've been alluding to, is that this story is exactly half of the story from Lilo and Stitch 2. Lilo has to come up with an original hula for her school, Stitch wanting to help, but he ends up getting in her way more than anything and makes her mad at him. Stitch feeling depressed, he runs away. When the time to perform finally comes, Lilo realizes how she's acting and ditches the hula to go and find Stitch before he leaves, catching him just in time before apologizing and making things right, before getting to perform the hula just for her sake and not for the competition. The scene where Stitch gives the special passes is almost the same as when he shows he's good again, and the scene where Lilo finds and apologizes to Stitch for ignoring him is an almost exact reverse of Stitch apologizing to Lilo for his uncontrol. It's quite amazing, actually. Because of this, though, you'd probably think that I hate Lilo and Stitch 2 now, since it's basically just a copy of this episode. Or, well, it's half a copy of this episode, and the other half is a copy of a much later episode, making one of the best things about the movie having been something that was already done by the TV show. But frankly, the movie did it better. It was more emotional, heartfelt, understandable, and relatable than it was in this episode. In the movie, Lilo was trying to make her dead mother proud of her and prove that she was able to come up with something inspiring and original that would live up to the legacy that she left behind. Here, she's literally doing it just to try and beat Myrtle. I dislike her actions more in this episode than how she was acting in Tank, where there at least it was because she had new friends she wanted to impress. This is just petty. But I will reiterate that I do still like this episode just for the funny experiment alone. We can cross Elastico off the experiment list and show the one true place where he belongs. Oh yeah. This is actually an experiment that already had its one true place before Lilo and Stitch even found it. And he'd been active for weeks and he didn't even need their help. So did the circus end up turning him good? Or was he never bad in the first place? And the moral of the episode is basically, don't be rude or selfish and ignore your family, because they will not like it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button if you liked it, leave a comment down below on your thoughts on this episode, and subscribe to me if you want to see more Lilo and Stitch love. Oh yes, this episode was so much better.